Grab your dice, Wargamers. It's time for the second battle in our loose narrative campaign. The Necromancer King invades the land of the saints. As you recall, last time the Necromancer King rose up an army of the undead and tried to march on the land of the saints and was denied entry at the door by a heroic and stout defense. We use Neil Thomas's 1 Hour Wargames. And this time around, we're going to play one of the scenarios, one of the 30 scenarios included, and we're going to roll the dice to find out which one. Because the 30 scenarios presented herein are loosely organized chronologically, with the earlier scenarios being meeting engagements and later scenarios being kind of end-of-the-line engagements. This is our second suite out of 5, so we're going to roll a d6. Add 6, and that's going to be the scenario we play. So, we got a 5. That means we're going to do scenario number 11. And in this case, scenario 11 is a surprise attack. Here's our map with a crossroads. Zone 1, we have a hill over here and an impassable terrain over there. So, give me a minute. I'll get the terrain set up, and we'll dice for which armies we've got. So here's our terrain. We have a string of hills and forest, which are impassable to all medieval troops, as is the beautiful little pond. Our army of the saints, well, let me just read it in the words of the immortal Neil Thomas. The Necromancer King has launched a surprise attack with the intention of capturing a strategic crossroads. So he failed in his last mission, and now he's either going to try again. We'll say the army of the saints has been plagued by mediocre leadership and mistook the original battle for a minor skirmish or a raid gone wrong. And now the Necromancer King has essentially cast his die, so to speak, and is launching a full-scale invasion. Fortunately, the land of the saints does have a reserve that they could call up to plug the gap. I've already rolled for which units are available to each force, and each force has 6 units. Now, in this case, the army of the saints only gets 2 units, and they have to be deployed in this area here. So, of the 6 units, I've got 3 knights, 2 of which won't come on until the beginning of turn 3, and the 3rd will come on in turn 9 with a unit of archers. Right now, I've got the Red Army has 1 unit of archers and 1 unit of heavy infantry or men-at-arms. On the other side, the invading force has 3 units of knights, 1, 2, 3. You can just barely see that 3rd one here. Don't worry, he'll move up lickety-dang split. They also have 2 units of heavy infantry and 1 unit of fairly fragile levies. So, with that out of the way, the blue army gets to go first in each turn, and the victor will be whoever controls the crossroads at the end of turn 15. Here is our turn marker. I'll try to remember to advance that after each turn to help remind us all of exactly where we're at. The Necromancer King actually, all 6 forces appear on the table edge, so as you can see, my dice tray, for the sake of illustration and for helping you guys follow along, encroaches on my battlefield somewhat. That's okay, it won't for long. Foot units that march on the road get to move a little bit extra, so that's their movement. We're actually the Necromancer King is actually going to throw his levies. These are his disorganized mob, his rabble, along the road first, and then they'll take the point, and our 2 men-at-arms can move 5. They'll follow up just behind, which leaves our knights, who can move a full 10 inches, and so they will do so like so. A little bit of turn, and follow up through there. Obviously, they're going to try to make a flanking attack, which puts it down to Army of the Saints. Second half of turn 1. The archers have a range of 10 inches, so they can already open fire on them, but we're not quite there yet. The turn order goes movement and then shooting. Do I have any movement? No. We're going to go ahead and maintain our solid flanks as they are, and they're just going to go ahead and open fire at these levies. Archers do d6 plus 2 hit points of damage, and this makes it easy, so they do 6 points of damage right out of the gate. And then just to remind you of how I prefer to track casualties, you've got your skellies on one side and saints on the other. And so you can see here I've got 15 hits for each of our units. We've got knight 1, 2, and 3. So our levies just took 6 hit points worth of damage, leaving them with 9 left. And that's it for turn 1. On turn 2, things kick back around to movement for the Necromancer King. There's 1, 2, and 3. These gents will move a mere 5. Whoop, wait a minute. First things first, we're going to try to chase those archers off. So we'll pivot to there. That's the best they can do. And then we'll follow up right behind. And then with them cleared out, we can move up to there. That's it for the Necromancer King. Army of the Saints. Again, we're going to hold our position. One shot. So that does 3 points of damage, bringing them down to just 6 left. Advance to turn 3. Now, the knights can't engage, nobody can charge into combat if they turn more than 45 degrees. So if they turn more than 45, which they're allowed to do, all they can do is get that close. And that's it. They can engage, and they can engage, and we're going to move this block right to there. So we're going to go with our foot troops, just a straight slog forward. These knights are going to hold position here, while these knights race you know, they should have moved further, shouldn't they? Well, poor leadership on that one. We'll head for the crossroads and try to hold it. That being the case, let's bring them up just a little bit more. It's a game of inches, right? Take every inch you can while you can get it. On to combat. We have a heavy infantry versus heavy infantry. Remember, they attack, these guys take half damage. So they attack at a straight d6, and they manage to do 2 points of damage to men-at-arms 1. That is the only men-at-arms. That makes it a little easier for me to keep track of. And they attack the levies, attack those archers, and do 5 hits to the archers. As this is turn 3, 2 reinforcements. 2 more knights come on. For the Army of the Saints. So we're going to make it 1 and 2. because they're on the road, they get their bonus movement. So that's one impact. And let's see. If that's our 45, they can't flank. They can't get the flanking bonus, but they can impact. You know, I don't think they're going to do that. There's no interpenetration, so instead, I think what I'll do is bring these guys straight forward to the maximum. And then these guys will charge to engage. So that's how red ends their turn. They get their first engagement. They do 6 points of damage on number 1. These men-at-arms attack these guys, half damage, for 3 points against men-at-arms 1. And the archers now do d6 minus 2 against that levy. 2 points. So they've only got 3 left before they quit the field. That kicks it over to turn number 4. And the Necromancer King takes over. He's in an odd position, isn't he? Well, we've committed. We're going to follow up to wipe out those men-at-arms. The half damage is a killer. They're going to rotate about 45 degrees and charge this way to just make contact here. Oh, nope. They're just blocked out. Well, they can at least defend those guys. And that's it. They're all stuck in. It's a little bit of a jumbled mess. So let's start here and work our way back. First things first, the levy versus the archers does 3 damage, taking them down to 7 remaining. Men-at-arms versus men-at-arms. Oops. 5 points of damage. Cut in half, drop all fractions, so that's only 2. But these knights are going to do double damage because they're hitting them in the rear. 3 plus 2 doubled to 10. Those men-at-arms take 10 more damage, and they have just 1 hit point left now, which is fortunate. They're going to stick around for just 1 more turn, which might just be enough to turn the tide of the battle. We've got 1 more basic fight here. That's d6 plus 2. So that's going to be six hits on knights 2. But Team Red now gets to counterattack. And Team Red will rotate 45 degrees and drive for impact. In this case, we'll start here and work our way that way. These knights are fighting Knight 1 and do 8 big points of damage, leaving them with just 4 left. These knights, d6 plus 2. Only 3 against Knight 3. Men-at-arms versus men-at-arms. 1 point of damage. Amateur hour, boys. Amateur hour. d6 minus 2. That's just 1 point of damage against the levy. This is a bit of an internet slap fight, isn't it? They've only got 2 hit points left. And that is the end of turn 4. So now we're on to turn 5. And here's where things do tend to in certain cases, once everybody gets stuck in, because this rule set doesn't allow for any kind of disengagement, the maneuvering section is over. So it's just a whole lot of dice rolls at this point. So turn 5 begins with everybody's favorite blue. And at this point, it's still anybody's game. Yes, the Saints still have 2 more units that won't show up for another 4 turns in reserve, but the Necromancer King still has 1 army, effectively 1 unit in reserve as well. All he's got to do now, though, is dice roll. So we've got Levy fighting and archers. They do 2 points worth of damage. So those archers are down to 5. We've got heavy on heavy. That's 1 point of damage. And then they do d6 plus 2, doubled. Well, that 1 point of damage is enough. These guys are done for. Thank you for your service. We'll put a plaque up to you at some point. Maybe have a holiday in your memory. So we got 2 more knights. Knights attacking here do 7, and knights attacking there do just 3. Moving on, archers versus Levy. 3 points of damage, and I think that's enough. Yep, that sends them out of the fight. So the zombies are no more. But the archers stand alone. We've got 2 more fights here. Knights versus knights. That's 5 points of damage, and knights versus knights, 4 points of damage. So the 5 points against knight 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And against knight 2, 3 points of damage. 1, 2, 3. Leaving them with, I think, 6. On to turn 6. Obviously blue goes here. They'll wheel about, but they can't charge just yet. They'll move forward as close as they can get. D6 plus 2. 3 points of damage against Wait a minute. 3 points of damage against those archers, who still have 2 hit points left. And then knights versus knights and knights. First knight does 5 points of damage against knight 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, leaving them with just 3. And those knights take 6 points of damage, which is enough to put them out of the fight. Interesting. So the Necromancer King's armies are pretty well bloodied by now. Anyway, they get 1 attack on these guys for 3 minus 2. That's 1 point of damage, cut in half. That's, well, okay, so drop all fractions would ordinarily mean they take no damage, but we're going to give them credit. We're going to give them an E for effort and do 1 point of damage on those guys. These knights are going to attack here, and they do 4 points of damage on knight 4. Excuse me, that is knight 1, 2, 3, which is, how did I say 4 points of damage? Which is not enough. They still have 3 left. Advance to turn 7. So despite responding with all due alacrity, the army of the Saints is hurting bad. These knights are going to prepare for reinforcements coming up. These knights are going to see to it that they finish things off. And that's a pretty fair fight, so... That's it. That's it for movement for the Necromancer King. There's an attack. Straight D6. 5 points of damage with only 2 left. The archers fight to the last. So we've got 2. I think they're dead. I don't think it's even a question. They can only take 3 hit points worth of damage, and you've got 2d6 plus 4. So they are out as well, leaving the Necromancer King's forces in undisputed control of the battlefield. Things are not going nearly as well for the army of the Saints. The Necromancer King has a full turn to prepare, so they're going to shift up to here, and they know where they're coming. They're going to come on the road. These guys are going to, let's move them up a little bit, and let's support their flank. I think I'm going to bring them around like that. And then our heavy boys can only move 5. So that's it for the end of turn 8. Turn 9 begins. And here come the reinforcements, but not before the Necromancer gets one more march. And they're going to take full advantage by putting heavy guys on the crossroads. And they'll bring these heavy guys up to there. Now, the last 2 units, all they can do is shock of impact, and we'll bring them on and turn to face. So they can, so they appear here, and they'll secure that flank is all they can do. Well, which flank do we want to secure? Probably the one with the knight that they can are most likely to take out with a single shot. It's a bit of a draw, isn't it? Okay, that's that. So, good news for the army of the Saints. They at least get the first hit. So they do 7 points of damage against knight number 1, who doesn't have 7 hits to give. Archers, d6 plus 2. They do 4 points of damage against knight number 2. Oh, that's not going to be enough. They really needed to roll a little bit higher. They still have 2 hit points left, and they're going to take full advantage. So on turn 10, there's your 45 degrees and move to engage. So again, is that a flank attack? I don't think so. Because they're unengaged and they can prepare to meet them, I think we'll just kind of turn it a little bit like so, and they go driving right in for the kill. Of course, those are 2 fresh units, so starting over here, that's 4 points of damage against the archers, and over here is d6 plus 2, so 5 points against the knights. That's it. So on to the army of the Saints. d6 minus 2, 4 points. That does it. That 4 points knocks those knights out. But those knights slowed them down. They slowed the archers down. These guys are going to take some time to whittle down. d6 plus 2. Need a big one. 7. Actually, they didn't need a big one. Anything they did would have killed them. So, Necromancer King, go ahead and just impact. They're going to come up. So now both of those units have to die. And it's turn 11. there's only one way to find out what happens, and that's to play it out. D6 against them for 2 points of damage. Those knights have 7 left, but that's their only attack. Now the knights get to retaliate with a big 1 point of damage against those men-at-arms. And this is men-at-arms 1 and 2. So those men-at-arms still have 10 hit points left. Did I forget something? Yes, I forgot my archers wheeling up and firing into those guys with a clear line of sight. D6 plus 2 does 6 points of damage. Cut in half, that's only 3, leaving them with 7. So that's going to force them to come out and move to engage. They'll have to do it next turn. Meanwhile, they get D6 against the knights. Oops. 3 points against the knights. 1, 2, 3, who now have 5 left. They could disappear on the next turn. They better get a big hit this time. We're going to roll for the archers first. I forgot to advance this to turn 12, didn't I? Oh, I get so excited when it gets down to the end, especially these knuckle biters. 8 points of damage. Well, 4 points actually. Leaving them with 10. And our knights are going to do 5, cut in half. They just do 2 points. Leaving them with 5. Now we're on to turn 13. And one big roll could be the end of those knights. But it's not. They stick around for another turn. They've only got 2 left. Oh, you know what? They move to engage as well, of course. And do 3 points against the archers. Who, 1, 2, 3. Who retaliate by doing a big 1 point of damage. And then they retaliate here. 7. Cut it in half. That's 3 damage against those men-at-arms. 1, 2, 3. They have 2 left. Taking us to turn 14. Taking us to turn, there we go, turn 14. Very simple. D6 against the archers for 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything but a 1, these knights are gone. This is why we play out the game. 1. Oh, you know, we're to the point. I'm going to go ahead and bring this a little closer for you guys so you can see exactly what's happening down at this end of the table, where it doesn't look, well, I don't know. I'm not even going to bother trying to predict. These things are so nuts. It's turn 14. Archers do D6 minus 2. They do 1 point of damage to those men-at-arms. The knights do 5. Cut in half, drop fractions. They do 2 points of damage to those men-at-arms, which puts them down for the count. Men-at-arms, turn 15. All right, it's over. It's all over. Let me just play it out to show you how this works. Men-at-arms are already engaged with these archers. There's nothing they can do. They do their 3 points of damage, and that is still not enough to kill the archers. These archers have 1 hit point left, but it doesn't matter because those knights take control of the crossroads, and even if these archers don't manage to kill those, which they don't, they only do 1 point of damage, leaving them with 4, but it's the end of turn 15. I'm sorry, leaving them with 7, but this is the end of turn 15. The army of the saints retains control of the crossroads. They win the battle. I don't know what I could have done differently here. If we had both of these men-at-arms plonked down there, the archers would have shot them to ribbons. I think that the Necromancer King just took too much damage here. I want to kick back over, before we wrap it up, call it a night, I want to kick back over to the scenario, and I want to explain to you where this scenario comes from. This is an interesting read. Neil Thomas writes, The game is derived from the Battle of Quatre Bras, 1815, fought during the Waterloo campaign. The real engagement was a closely contested and bitter struggle between Marshal Ney's French and the Duke of Wellington's Anglo-Allied forces. The tabletop encounter should prove most exciting. Wow, Neil Thomas is quite the prognosticator, as the Red Army desperately tries to maintain its position. He also recommends some fine accounts of the battle, the historical battle, by Mike Robinson, the Battle of Quatre Bras, if that's how you pronounce it in French, and an adaptation of this particular battle as an 18th century wargame scenario can be found in Charles S. Grant's The Wolfenbüttel from Partisan Press, 2012. That about wraps it up for the second battle, a narrow margin of victory, the narrowest there is, by the Camp of the Saints, by the, I don't know why I keep saying Camp of the Saints, something about that title is just lodged in my head. If I understand correctly, I hope it doesn't get me kicked off YouTube. At any rate, with 2 victories to none, I think in the next scenario, our Red Army is going to go on the offensive. Why does that sound familiar? After being attacked, the Red Army going on the offensive? I don't know. Whatever. Another great battle, a good time, very narrow, very suspenseful, right down to turn 15. Thanks for coming along with me on the ride. Thanks for being a part of this. Go forth, roll your own dice, have a great time, be good to each other, all right? All right, I'll see you next time on The Joy of Wargaming.